Well, it's Thursday, and you all know what that means. That means once again, TNA Wrestling has started out 2024 with a bang. But however, on this particular episode for TNA Wrestling, we're going to have some interesting matches taking place. We have the rematch for the TNA World Knockouts Championship. We have, of course, Jordan Grace defending her belt against Trinity. We also got Nick Medic making his in ring debut in TNA, taking on, I believe, Zachary Wentz. But we also have the main event featuring the Motor City Machine Guns along with the Rainmaker Kazuchika Okada taking on the System, Myers, Eddie Edwards, and Moose. So we'll see how that turns out. And of course, we have some Ring of Honor action taking place. We have some very special matches, but amongst them, we have, of course, the ROH World Tag Team titles in a proving ground match. The Undisputed Kingdom defends their belts against Gringo Loco and Gravity. But first things first, we're going to be reviewing Stardom's much recent event, a 2-day show down in, I think, hope I pronounce it right, Takada, Takadanobaba, where they had, of course, their annual Stardom Awards. But however, these two events were pretty interesting. We do have title matches, but on day two, this one features the last official match of Megan Bayne, who will be returning to the States, and I'm assuming she's already here. But we'll see what happens from here on out. And then, of course, we cap it up with a very small news updates with all of you. So let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Jay right here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews, not only with promotions here in the United States, but also promotions in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world where pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to get our hands on. We also do more news updates. If I'm unable to put it on this episode, I can put on a separate video by itself. We also do more cool content here that you guys probably will enjoy. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us. So click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews of this channel. And of course, if you like this episode, please give us a like on a like button or leave us a nice comment in the description down below. Now, let's begin with our very first review. We are with the latest Stardom shows in Takadanobaba, where they had the annual Stardom Awards, which of course I won't be going through that. Let's just get through the matches themselves. Our first match, we have a very interesting match. A 3-on-1 match. Megan Bayne takes on Lady C, Yuna Mizumori, and Saki Kashima. Now, this match was very interesting by a purpose. Now, this is the second time, if I can recall, Lady C was ever been in that situation. The first time she was involved in a 3-on-1 match was back in 2021, where she teamed up with both Waka Tsukiyama and Mai Sakurai. This is before Mai decided to leave DDM to join Cosmic Angels. That was a very interesting experience, but now they're facing against a much bigger and stronger competitor. But the one person who seems like she wanted to avoid Megan Bayne was none other than, of course, Saki Kashima. Now, I don't blame her. I mean, it gets a little fragile when it comes to seeing individuals who are a bit more strong than her. which is, of course, common. But, however, that kind of thing gets her in trouble, but it doesn't stop her from there. But unfortunately, Megan Bayne put all three of them in the F5 and she pinned all three of them at the same time. So, pretty impressive. Now, our next match is a tag team gauntlet match. So, we only have, let's see, like about maybe four teams at the most. So, let's get started with that. It opened up with O2 line, which is members from Queen's Quest, Miyu Emasaki and Azumi. They take on Sayaka Kurara and Rana Yagami. This particular match goes into in favor of O2 line when, of course, Azumi applied a roll up with the bridge onto Kurara to pick up the win. But however, their next opponents are none other than the members of Oedo Tai, consisting of Ruka and Rina. You probably would think that they would do a little dirty trick, which they did because Ruka used her box onto the head of who was it? Amasaki? Yeah, Amasaki to pick up the for Rina to apply the Pink Devil, which is the Gory Bomb, onto Amasaki to pick up the win. Their next opponent is, of course, the current goddesses of Stardom, which is Aphrodite, Sayaka Mitani, and Utami Ishida. Well, you can guess this match ended when, of course, Utami applied the German suplex to Ruka to pick up the win. But their next opponents, this is their last ones. This is the members of Stars, consistent of Yuzuki, who is the newest member, and Saya Ida. But however, this match was a very impressive one when Kamitani applied the Senpuyaku onto Yuzuki to pick up the win. Now, our next match, we have an interesting 8-woman tag match. No, a 6-woman tag match. We have um, Oedo Tai, Starlight Kid, Momo Watanabe, and Natsuko Tora. They take on Mai Sakurai, Suzuki, and Julia. Now, it's an interesting combination, as you know, because Mai Sakurai, she's like a little puppy still following around Julia. But of course, Julia, at her remaining time that she has left, she would love nothing more than team up with Zuzu before she goes. So, you probably can guess that the Oda Tai will do dirty tricks, which they did. But however, it was Starlight Kid who picked up the win with the Star Suplex hold on Sakurai to pick up the win. Now, our next match, we have Waka Tsukiyama and Mina Shirakawa. Waka, who made her return for the first time in months after she was injured. They face against Hanako and Maika. You can guess this was going to be a very interesting match because, of course, Hanako, she's a big individual, but at the same time, a rookie who's currently been frustrated over the recent times because of Yuzuki. But however, Maika, as you know, she's been going on her own ever since the disbandment of DDM. It seems that she has still had it under control, but it was Maika who picked up the win with the Enka Otoshi onto Waka to pick up the win. However, Maika decided to bring out some interesting remarks towards Mina. Now, as you know, Mina was by herself holding the fort for Club Venus. So basically, it was like, that what she's been doing since then. But however, Mina brought up the same kind of concept to her, telling her now that DDM is disbanded, that she's on her own. So apparently, it's like Mina was intending to bring Maika into Club Venus, but I don't think Maika's the kind who would do the kind of things Club Venus. So this became like the end of Club Venus as we know it. So basically, Hanako said that she will willing to follow Maika, and of course, they form all four of them formed a unit. But Waka decided, she wants to proceed for the new Blood Tag Team titles with Hanako. I'm sure that there will be that match taking place soon, probably in the upcoming New Blood show. But however, with the surprise appearance, we have Xena who made her return. Now, for those who don't know, I did report it recently. Xena has been making trips to Japan. She's currently in a relationship with Daga, who is the current GHC junior heavyweight champion in Pro Wrestling Noah. So there's photos of her and him together. So you can see that on their social media. So it's still unclear what's going to happen. But recently there have been people that have been talking about Mina. I probably will do a discussion video about that. Many people are saying that Mina has gone back right where she started. If you guys remember, she used to be second to Tam Nakano in Cosmic Angels, but now they're saying that she's now second to Micah, but Mina is in fact playing that this is more of a co-leadership. Now it's been very well known in Japanese faction. I've seen in certain factions there are two co-leaders. One with Dragon Gate I can think of is Maximum with, of course, Naruki Doi and Masato Yoshino. So that's another conversation. But let's keep moving, rolling on. Our next match is the high speed title. Fukigen Death, as you know, issued a challenge to Mei Sera. Of course, Mei Sera has been determined to avoid her, but luckily she has been able to hold on her own and make sure she doesn't get pinned. However, she's facing with a much stronger competitor as a high speedster, but luckily she was able to reverse the O'Connor role and pick up the win. And of course, Fukigen Death probably is not happy about it. But yes, so I don't know. I think this is her second or third victory. I'm not sure, but I'll get back to that at some point. Now, our main event is the Artists of Stardom Championship. The Artist belts are defended. God's Eye defends the belts against the members of Stars, more particularly Hanan, Azuki, and Mayu Itani. Now, this was initiated by Hanan, who pinned Ami Sori. Now, if you guys remember, when Hanan was the future of Stardom champion, she was defeated by Ami Sori. So she found a way to make up for what happened, and now she wants to determine to take off the artist belt. You probably think this was going to be a good moment. Hanan really showed a bit more of the fighting spirit that many people often talk about, but unfortunately, she couldn't defeat the much highly skilled of Mirai when she applied a lariat, and it was over. And of course, Ami Sadi decided to gloat on her, telling her that she couldn't get the job done. But however, an interesting development happened. As you know, recently now we saw that Hanako has joined a faction, and recently before that we have Yuzuki who joined. Rana Yagami actually came up and she requested that she would like to join God's Eye. And I did mention this before. I did feel like she had that same kind of structure as God's Eye, like same kind of fighting style. And I think maybe Suri felt the same way too about her. So she looked into the other members, Mirai, Ami, and Saki, and they all have an agreement. So she's now officially as a new member of God's Eye. So that leaves only two people left. Now, one of them is Sayaka Kurara, who we just saw earlier. No indications yet where she's going to go. And there's, of course, Aya Sakura, but currently she hasn't returned yet. She's been out on injury. So those are the only two rookies left to join any faction. So we'll see what happens until then. So right now, let's move on with day two. Okay, day two of Stardom's at in Takadanobaba. Hopefully, I pronounced it right. This took place on the 21st of January. Our very first match is a three-way tag match. We have team number one, Rana Yagami, who is now the newest member of God's Eye, representing them. She teams up with the future of Stardom champion, Rina from Oedo Tai. They face against Sayaka Kurara and what's her name? And Yuna Mizumori. And then, of course, the next team was Queen's Quest, Miyu Amasaki, and Lady C. Now, as I said before, we do know that Sayaka Kurara is the one of two wrestlers left that haven't joined any faction just yet. But however, it was a pretty good match. I'm not gonna lie. But in fact, it was Miyu Amasaki who picked up the win when she applied her finisher, the Tenzai, onto Kurara to pick up the win. Next up, we have Mai Sakurai taking on Fukigen Death. Now, of course, many people would assume that Fukigen Death will pick up the win since she's a little bit a very high speed wrestler type. But unfortunately, it didn't do any favors for her whatsoever because um, Mai Sakurai got away with it with the her new move that she's displaying. I think it's called the Escargot. I think that's what it's called. However, as soon as that thing happened, she posted out a promo as you remember, I mentioned she said that she's looking for a butler, and she's trying to hire Fukigen Dev, thinking that she's a bit more strong, she can do more better without whatever she was doing, but it failed. Fukigen Dev has no interest in that. She's not the type who wants to be a butler. I mean, she was a pet for Odotai until they unleashed her. But yes, but we'll see what happens until then. Next up, we have star members Yuzuki and Sayaida taking on Waka and Mina Shirakawa. Now, as you know, they formed a new unit with Hanako and Maika along with Xena. The name is still unclear just yet. However, we will see what that's going to happen. Um, this match was pretty interesting. However, it was Mina with the Mina driver onto Saida to pick up the win, and that's how I won. But however, there was a moment where Waka looked up to Saya, and you probably remember I mentioned this before. The day before, she did say that she's aiming for the New Blood Tag Team titles with Hanako. So I think she's telling her that she's better be prepared because she and Hanako will be coming for those belts. Now, our next match, we have Oedo Tai members Ruka, Momo Watanabe, and Natsuko Tora taking on God's Eye members Ami Suri, Mirai, and Shuri. Um, you probably would think, like always, with Oedo Tai with their usual tricks, that did not do any favors for anybody. Of course, um, I wouldn't be surprised if Oedo Tai but somehow were able to pick up the win. They would have challenged for the artist belts, which of course it would have been a possibility. But unfortunately, that didn't do them a favor. It was, of course, Suri with the Grand Zuzaku on Ruka to pick up the win. And luckily, no one has pinned them just yet. Now, our next match, we had once again, we have Suzuki, Mai Sita, and Julia. They take on Hanako, Megan Bayne, and Maika. So this is a very interesting combination. Now, keep in mind, of course, we know that Zuzu and May have teamed up with Megan, and of course Maka. There's a lot of history with that. But however, this match, of course, was pretty amazing, very strong. Uh, you probably would have assumed that someone was going to pick up the win. I mean, there was a lot of things that were going on, but it was Julia with Hanako with the backdrop driver, not her usual move like, of course, the glorious driver or whatever moves that she tries, but it wasn't that. That's how she picked up the win. However, later they did a promo announcing that this was Megan's last official match in Stardom. I'm pretty sure this Megan Bayne is currently back in the States. We still haven't heard anything just yet. But it's going to be interesting. But of course, Megan Bayne put out a pretty um, emotional promo. But she did say that this is not the end. That she'll see the entire Stardom fan base somewhere down the line. And I think it shows us that they're willing to. Probably many fans would like to see her again, but we just don't know when or where that will happen. So we'll see when that day comes. Now, our main event is a very interesting combination. As you know, Stardom celebrated their 13-year anniversary. We have Starlight Kid, Azuki, Azumi, and Saki Kashima. They take on Hanan, Saikami Tani, Utami Ayashida, and Miyu Amasaki. So it's a very interesting combination from both sides. So there's a lot of history. Don't forget, there's a moment, of course, Starlight Kid and Saki Kashima has some history. Don't forget, Kashima used to be a member of Oedo Tai until they expelled her. But I'm sure that she tries to keep her distance from her. But the one thing is interesting is the opposite side. You have two members from Queen's Quest and two members from Stars. That's a very interesting combination. I just didn't expect that was going to be. But however, there was some great moments. I mean, Azuki, I know many people have talked about the possibility that Azuki could take over as the leader. But Mayu Utani is not willing to give that up just yet. She was the one who picked up an interesting win by doing a moonsault on Azuki, picking up the win. But however, it was said that she was very interesting to work with the other members of with other people, and I'm thinking that's what people thought. Um, we don't know if this combination will ever work again, but we know they were successful. So we'll see what happens down the road. I think that's pretty much it with Stardom right here. Let's move on with TNA. Okay, TNA. It opened up with Chris Bay um, going on alone, but he has Ace Austin by his side, and we have Kevin Knight who's been there. I want to point out if you guys noticed something about Kevin Knight, he seems he has new gear, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. But it's still the same some orange getup that he had from his during his previous time. But I have to say it's pretty good. Now I'm not sure if he's currently on excursion. That is the thing. I don't know. I haven't been keeping up on Kevin and I. We've been nobly been follow the excursions, what's going on in Japan with wrestlers like, Yuto Nakashima, Oscar Lobe, those sort of people. But yeah, but I have to say it was a pretty impressive match uh, by Kevin Knight. But however, that wasn't enough because, as you know, TNA was in Las Vegas. This was the home field advantage of Chris Bay. It was the art of finesse that sealed the deal for Bay to pick up the win. But however, things got a little chaotic with the arrival of grizzled young veterans who are once again are determined. They felt that what happened at of course, at Hard to Kill, that it was uncalled for, that this match should have been one on one, but because of the crybabies of uh, the Rascals demanding a rematch was the cause of it. So they were trying to make a statement by any means necessary. Um, we did see them later on. They were already talking about this, but the director of authority was not feeling what they were doing. They think he goes out telling them that this was not the right way to make a statement. And of course, ABC were not happy. So it was becoming chaotic to separate both of them. But, however, the director of authority had a better idea. So they decided to do, starting next week, a 2 out of 3 series. But the winner of those series will win the TNA World Tag Team titles. So basically, this is going to be interesting. So whoever walks out as, of course, having 2 wins will be the brand new TNA World Tag Team Champions. I'm sure this is something that, of course, Grizzled Young veterans wanted to hear, but we'll see where that leads us from there. Now, our next match we have, well, we did. Let me skim back a little bit. We, as you know, on the return last week's in TNA, we did see Frank Kazarian and Eric Young team up, but they lost. Apparently, Frank Kazarian attacked Eric Young for the loss. However, he said that he will give his explanation next week. But Rich Swann wanted to hear it. Like, why would you do this to another TNA original? But of course, Frank Kazarian had no reason to say it to him. So he's telling him, hey, wait till next week. So he wanted to hear it now. But of course, while Swann was trying to get answers, he's approached by AJ Francis. Now, if you guys remember, AJ Francis is currently dealing with Joe Hendry. It's like he's trying to recruit him to help him deal with Joe Hendry. But however, Swann has no time for that. Joe Hendry is not his problem. His problem is, of course, is the fact is the Frank Kazarian went out of his way to attack another TNA original. But I don't know how AJ Francis feels that Swann has no concerns about anything else but that. So we'll see where that leads us. Our next match we have Oleg Prudis and that moron Dirty Dango. They take on a couple of guys named Damian Drake and Dante King. Now, Dirty Dango, who said he hates pro wrestling, let Oleg Prudis do the dirty work. He took out both men by himself while he was on the phone, and then later he picked up the win. Very typical of him to try to figure out a way to pick up the win. Now, Gia Miller conducts an interview with Motor City Machine Gun and, of course, the Rainmaker. That's right, he was there. As you know, they will face the system Myers, Edwards, and Moose. So they can't wait to deal with them. So now the TNA, it's gonna fill the Rainmaker. So they're ready for that. But we did hear the response from the system, so they're saying that they're gonna take out the 2 more originals and a top-notch wrestler. So that's gonna be interesting to watch too. Now, our next match, we have the TNA Knockouts World Title. Trinity cash in her rematch clause to take on Jordan Grace. Now, obviously, you probably would assume that the same result's going to be the same. Well, basically, it was Jordan Grace who walked out as the winner. Somehow, she was able to counter the Starstruck, turn into a pinfall to retain the belt. Now, the moment, of course, when Jordan Grace and Trinity were shaking hands, they were attacked by the Entourage, Jive and Savannah Evans. But of course, it appears now Giselle Shaw is making her play for the TNA Knockouts World Title, a title that has been eluding her for months. So we'll see where that leads us from here. But I'm sure that Grace will get her hands on Giselle Shaw and her Entourage for attacking her. Now, Josh Alexander, as you know, he talked about his entire life how he was a big fan of TNA, that he can't wait, that he cannot believe now his dream has come true, that he wants to be something like a deal breaker or whatever he wants to do. However, Alan Angels, who's now saying that he wants to do his own talk show, wants to invite him, but Alexander has no time for that. But of course, we'll see where that leads us from there. Our next match, we have Zachary Wentz taking on Nick Meneth. Now, this is Nick Meneth's debut match. I have to say it was a pretty good one. But of course, there were moments where Zachary Wentz is determined to beat him because he knows if he beats him, he's the guy who gets to do it. But it did not do any favor because it was Nick Meneth who applied the danger zone to pick up the win. But as soon as the celebration was about to begin, Steve Macklin, who was not feeling the vibe with Nick Meneth, telling him that he had no right to be in TNA, attacked him. But luckily, Meneth counteracted him with the danger zone, and that was it. So sooner or later, we know that Nick Meneth's goal is to win the TNA World Title, but now he has to work his butt off. But the one person who is standing in his way is the one person who feels that he had no right to be there, Steve Macklin. So we'll see where that leads us. Now, as you know, in Hard to Kill, Crazy Steve won the TNA digital media title, and he goes out saying that he doesn't need advice from anybody. And then he was interrupted by Rhino telling him, "You don't need advice? Let me show you some advice." And of course, Crazy Steve was laughing about it. I don't know if that was part of his plan or he just enjoys how people think they're going to try to make a pounding on him. But we'll see where that leads us. Now, as you know, the K made the return at Hard to Kill, but the real question is why. It turns out that their alter egos, Courtney Rush and Jessica, played their purpose, so that led them to go for the TNA Knockouts tag team titles. So we'll see who'll step up to the game for them. Now, our next match, we have a Knockouts tag team champion, Knockouts tag match. We have Danny Luna and Jordan Threat taking on the former Knockouts tag team champions MK Ultra, Masha Slamovich, and Killer Kelly. So this will be a very interesting development. But of course, they probably will be thirsty for blood after losing the tag titles to Decay, and that kind of did when Killer Kelly pinned Jody Threat, and that leads us from there. But of course, MK Ultra are determined to make a statement by using Danny Luna. Now, our main event, we have the System, Moose, Eddie Edwards, and Brian Myers taking on Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, the Motor City Machine Guns, and the Rainmaker. That's right. But of course, moments like these is one of the best. But we were expecting the moment where Moose will have to confront against the Rainmaker, one of the top champions in the world. So that is one of the things that kind of would lead us. So we were going to see good matches, but the System swore that they were going to put away two more originals and a top-notch international wrestler, but that was a failed because, of course, it was the shell shock by Alex Shelley to Brian Myers. It was over just like that. So the Motor City Machine Guns walked away with the win, and so did Kazuchika Okada. So it's great to see Okada back in TNA, but of course TNA will always be the period where it was the worst experience for him. But right now things have changed. So I think that's pretty much it with TNA. Let's move on with Ring of Honor. Okie dokie, our last review, Ring of Honor. It opened up with the Righteous, Vincent and Dutch taking on Cameron Jackson and Anaya. I think that's the name. But, however, you probably would have guessed that this match was going to fall into the Righteous. Yes, it was, of course, Vincent with the Ottoman Sunshine onto Anaya to pick up the win. Nothing too significant about this match, but of course, but at some point we do know that the Righteous will definitely make their play for the ROH World Tag Team titles. Our next match, we have Nyla Rose taking on Lady Luck. Now, as you know, Nyla Rose is determined to spread her path of destruction because she is now aiming for the ROH Women's World title. So it's only a matter of time until Athena returns and put law and order into her. But however, Nyla Rose applied the Beast Bomb onto Lady Luck, and Blasto, it picked up the win. Next up, we have Aaron Solo, who we haven't seen for quite some time. Now he faces against Zack Knight. Of course, this was going to be impressive. Now, don't forget, Zack Knight is currently undefeated in Ring of Honor, 2-0. But can he make this 3-0? Well, I have to say he really went hard on Aaron Solo until he gave him the forearm into the face, knocked him out. 1, 2, 3. That's it. He is 3-0. I'm sure that we will see him at some point, possibly gunning for a ROH title. But right now, he is showing us how impressive he can be. Next match, we have Cole Carter and Griff Garrison taking on Spanish Announce Project. Now, these two teams had crossed paths on before until their paths were becoming very elusive. Now, if you guys remember, a couple weeks ago, it was Maria who decided to hire Spanish Announce Project to be part of their four-man team in a 8-man tag match. However, things didn't go exactly according to plan. So they've been going back and forth in this, and that's exactly what's happened. But Maria spent much of her time trying to distract Serpentico, which it kind of worked, but it was, of course, Cole Carter who unmasked Serpentico, and it was a forearm to the back of the head by Griff Garrison to pick up the win. And once again, they humiliated Serpentico by taking off his mask. I'm sure Spanish Announce Project will get retribution for what they did. So they took his mask as a souvenir, but Serpentico will get his revenge. Now, our next match, we have the Outrunners, Truth Magnum and Turbo Floyd, taking on the combination of Blake Christian and Willie Mack. Now, this is a very interesting combination. Normally, we know that they work with various partners, but this was a pretty good one. However, there was the moment with Willie Mack applying a frog splash onto Turbo Floyd and picked up the win. So that's pretty much it right there for that one. Now, our next match, we have a 6-woman tag match. We have Trish Adora, Kiara Hogan, and Lady Frost taking on Layla Gray, Diamante, and Tail Valkyrie. So this was a pretty good match to see. We haven't seen Layla Gray for quite some time, but it was, of course, a very impressive Dragon Sleeper Twisty DDT by Diamante to Trish Adora to pick up the win. But I want to make a note here. I thought here in this moment, this match was done, Abaddon was gonna show up the how do I say, make a statement, but no, that backfired on me. Now, Lex Near conducted an interview with Layla Hirsch and Rachel Ellering. So they're how do I say, their friendship is now becoming strong. Now, they know they will fight each other at some point. So they know what's at stake. They know they got the ROH Women's World Television coming up, that they have to not only just be friends, but at the same time bring the best out of them. So Rachel Ellering knows Layla Hirsch has the best suplex, so she's not going to deny that. So I'm sure Layla Hirsch thinks the same thing about her, whatever she does. So basically, they will keep an eye on each other, what they're going to do, until it comes when they have to face each other. Now we have the Iron Savages along with Jack Jamison. They take on Lee Johnson and the infantry. Now, I hate to be the infantry. Don't be around the Iron Savages and Jack Jameson because you don't want to be around them. Which unfortunately it was bad for what's his name, Carly Bravo. But the biggest upset was, of course, Lee Johnson picking up the win on Jack Jameson. This was a huge win for him. I'm sure that we will see him rise onto the occasion in ROH. Next up, we had Red Velvet taking on Heather Reckless. Good match, but this match ended with Red Velvet applying a spinning roundhouse kick, and boom, just like that, it was over. 1, 2, 3. Now, Nyla Rose, as I say, she is claiming that she is now the new lady in charge in the women's division. But of course, um, Lexi's not happy with what's going on. I'm sure deep down, Lexi probably is saying, Latina, please come back. I can't take it anymore. But, however, we'll see what happens until then. Uh, Next match, we have Billy Starks taking on, what's her name? Tootie Lynn. Pretty good match. Not to mention, this is a good momentum for Billy Starks, who is in the running for a chance to chase for the ROH Women's World Television title. She did pick up a good win when she did the Swanton, and it was over right from there. Next match, Ethan Page, as you know, he's back to his winning ways, who's making his play now for the ROH World Television title. But right now he's to contend with a guy named Cody Lane. This match ended with Ethan Page applying the Ego's Edge. It was over right there. Now, Lexi Neer was attempting to do the interview with Jerry Lynn, but Dalton Castle was trying to break into Johnny TV's locker room, demanding to get his match, but of course, Johnny TV says you're not TV material, and then he does the splits and something dragged him in the back. But of course, Dalton Castle is losing it completely. If I'm Jerry Lynn, just give him the match. But if Johnny TV doesn't want that, fire him. That's what I would do if I was in his shoes. Now our next match, we have Robin Renegade taking on the in-ring debut in ROH, Abaddon. So you can guess that this match was going to be interesting. Now, it's still unclear what the motives were with Abaddon, but there are those who spoke that there is the possibility she wants to make a run for the ROH Women's World Television title. That's possibly one of the things, but we just don't know just yet. But, however, it was Abaddon with the Black Delilah that sealed the deal for her to pick up the win against Robin. Now, our next match, we have John Cruz taking on Jack Cartwheel. Now, Jack Cartwheel is pretty much an incredible athlete. He picked up a very good, impressive win. I know Serpentic will be laughing his butt off seeing John Cruz losing. Next match, we have Anthony Henry, Action Andretti taking on. I thought this match was pretty good. I mean, first time we've seen Anthony Henry in a while being attacked in the singles action, but it was great. But it was, of course, Action Andretti with the split leg moonsault to pick up the win. Next up, we have a four-corner survival match. Slim J versus JD Drake versus, what's his name? Josh Woods versus Rocky Romero. So these are interesting factors of the match. But, however, it was Rocky Romero with a bit of a sliced bread type move onto Slim J to pick up the win. Now, our main event is the ROH World Tag Team titles in a proving ground match. Green Loco and Gravity taking on Undisputed Kingdom's Matt Taven and Mike Bennett. Of course, Undisputed Kingdom are sending a statement saying that they are going to run things both AEW and Ring of Honor combined. But they were able to pick up the win when they spike power drive Gringo Loco to pick up the win and to ensure no challengers will be facing them. So we will see who will be the next challengers for those tag titles. I think that's pretty much it right now with all the reviews. Let's move on with some news updates. Alrighty then. Welcome to our news update. So we're gonna keep this short as possible. This is all I can get. Now let's start with the promotions, mostly with only GCW updates. GCW has announced that they will be making the return to Indianapolis on March 2nd. Now, no new show name has been announced yet or who will participate, but I will be making announcements when that will take place. Now, speaking of that, as you know, later on in March we do have two shows at in Atlantic City at the Showboat. Ashes to Ashes on the 9th of March and So Much Fun on the 10th. It was announced in both shows the return of Mark Tremont will be appearing. So I think that's pretty much it with the promotions. Let's talk about certain developments. Now, as you know, Master Wato is out due to an injury that he obtained. They was revealing that New Japan has been calling Musashi. Was it Musashi? Yeah, Musashi, as you know, he is part of the Michinoku Pro Wrestling roster, but recently they announced that he was leaving the promotion. They're trying to find replacements for Master Wato for the time being. They even called in Dragon Gate's very own Super Strong J. So I'm not sure if any of those two will be able to do so, but we will see what happens until then. Now, finally, in the Yoshi world, as you know, Veny, better known as Asuka in the past, she was supposed to be here in the States for West Coast Pro, but apparently she had to turn back to Japan. Now, the reasons of returning to Japan is still unknown. Nobody knows what was the purpose. I did hear that there were people that already bought tickets because they wanted to see her. Just don't know what is going on here, but we just hope and pray that everything is okay, that whatever's going on with her can be resolved. So we'll see down the line what's going on. And I think that's pretty much it for our news updates. So let's just call it a day. All right. I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you know, we have AEW Dynamite and, of course, NXT Level Up. However, I'm still I'm not sure yet if I'll be able to add one or two, but we'll reviews before those two. But we'll see how time flies for me. Um, I do know I got three possibly Pro Wrestling Noah shows I haven't reviewed just yet, and of course we have coming up on Friday. We do have the GCW Look at Me show that's happening in Tampa. I probably won't review that possibly by either Saturday or by the end of the weekend. That is something I haven't decided just yet. But as I always say, let's just wing it. But for now, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.